Welcome everyone to Unscripted Coding. Today we're going to talk about structured outputs in OpenAI, and this is a really important and critical piece of their API, which happens to be fairly new. Basically, when you talk to an API, an AI API like OpenAI, you are passing some information and it is giving you some information back. Structured output means that the response that you're getting back will follow a structure that you designate. And so, for example, if I ask, give me a number between 0 and 100, I want a number. That's it. And through structured output, I could say, just give me an integer, a number. Because as you know, many AI chatbots will preface it something like, sure, I can help you with that, and then give you the number. And that makes it really difficult. And so I'll give you another concrete example. This is a site that I run, and what I can do is just say, yo, what's up? It's a quick and rough email, and I ask it to fix the email. So it rewrites it. So it says, hello, there's a salutation and a farewell kind of message. More professional, more padded out. This probably isn't the greatest example, but I had a really difficult time early on. Because if you think about the back end, it should be pretty obvious what I'm doing. I'm just sending it off to, say, OpenAI. I'm going, here's a rough email. Please write me back a polished professional email. And it responds back. The trouble I had building this site is that, especially early on, it had a lot of, sure, I can help you with that. Here's your email. Here's your rewritten email. Lots of these kind of filler messages in front of or after what I actually cared about. And so the oldest way to tackle this was, hey, I just want the email. Please don't put crap in front or after the email. I don't want you filling up anything. I just want the email. And so that was a prompting technique that you had to build up. And as with all prompts, it's never 100% accurate. And so even now, this site, I'd say 1 in 1,000 emails might have some sort of preface for it, because even though I was very clear not to, something about the email included here might make it disregard it, or it might just forget. Something along those lines will trip it up and create an email, create a response that's inappropriate. That's the oldest way. And the next step that a lot of people have taken is asking it to respond in JSON format or in different formats like Markdown. But it's taking it one step further, giving it a specific format, a specific template. And I'm just going to scroll to the bottom here. I saw some of these. This is a schema. This isn't a response, but let's pretend this is the format you want it to respond to. You can just say, here's a sample of the response I want, and OpenAI will often, I wouldn't say usually, but often respond back with following this kind of template. This is just purely in prompting. And so the next step that happened was OpenAI decided to do JSON mode, which is an earlier solution to structured outputs. The only thing it guaranteed was that you would get a JSON response back. So here is maybe what you wanted as the output. You wanted a name and a description, which is a great example, by the way, of what you can do. So you say you want a JSON response back. You might even give it this template in the prompt. And the problem was it was always up to OpenAI whether to follow your format. The only thing it guaranteed was that it is a valid JSON file at the end of it. And so you're looking for name in the dictionary, but this time around it decided to name it title or header or heading or something else, function name or a variety of different things. And description could be a description, a shorthand for description, description of the name of the function. And so it's very, very hard for developers. But this is a great example of a use case. Having that JSON format allows you to split this up. And so one example is I just want a name and a description, a name and a description. Yes, you can have it within the same response in just a whack of text together. That makes it very difficult to parse through. Sure, if you're just spitting it out as a chat or even as an article, that might be okay. But as a developer, I might want to have the name in a separate area of the page or the app I'm building, so that it's in a different area. It's going to be formatted differently. It might be something that I could swipe away or get rid of, and then the description's in a separate area. And so I need a way to readily separate it apart. And so that's another thing that structured outputs allows us to do. Okay, I've gotten a bit in the weeds here. One way you can go about it is you can create a JSON schema. And so that is a simpler, a more universal way of being able to provide this. And so you need to create a JSON schema, and this is one way you could take a look at this. So the response format, this is your standard call. You're passing messages in. Your response format, you're giving it a type, JSON schema, and then this is how it would look. So the schema, you have object, property, steps, it's an array. I have never gotten a great sense of how this works. I just never quite understood it, so I would use OpenAI or GPT-4 to help create this format, because it's taken an array of strings and broke it into this huge thing, and it's very difficult for me to understand. You might have a better shot at it, but with this, you're going to get a response in that format. So I have always known about this schema since it came out, and that's why I always avoided it. It was difficult for me to understand it. The alternative is to use Pydantic. This is a Python solution, so not universally applicable, but for Python, you could define, Pydantic is a very, very common library used to define structures, and it's very, very simple. I just want name, it's a string, date, it's a string, participants, it's a list of strings. So you create a class, this is how it looks, and then your response format is just that Pydantic base model. And so what I wanted to show you is I took this from the sample and I ran it. So first of all, you do have to import Pydantic and OpenAI. You'll have to pip install it, but once you do, you can run it, and you can see over here what we expected is a series of steps, and each step is in the math reasoning, and then there's the step, and then there's a final answer. So you can see the format here. The step has an explanation, this step has an explanation, blah blah blah, and then you have all of the list of steps, and then for the final answer you get one final answer. I hope you can see that. This is hard to see if you're not squinting at the screen, but it basically adhered to exactly this. You are getting a single math reasoning, and within it is a list of steps. The steps are defined up here. And then after the list of steps, you get a string final answer. What I wanted to do very quickly, and you can, again, I put this warning all the time. I put an API key. It's working now, but I'm going to delete it afterwards, so don't bother. What I wanted to do is create a very simple base model here, and I'm going to call it resp for response. Maybe I should capitalize that. The example I have in my mind is if I wanted to learn Japanese. As you know, there are all sorts of Japanese characters. So you have very foreign looking characters if you are English speaking. But then a lot of times, if you watch anime or manga, they will romanize those characters. So, yes, it's not English because it will look completely foreign, but you will use English characters to create that sound. And so, what I wanted to do is ask it to split the response up so that one is in the foreign characters, one is in the English pronunciations. So here, you will translate phrases into. So I'm giving it a system message. You're translating English phrases into Japanese. Please provide both the standard text and one that is in Romaji. Romaji being the English pronunciation. And so I'm going to say, please translate hello world. And the response format is now the RISP. And we'll just keep with the standard one. And what I'm going to do here is now run and see what happens. So it's going to take a second, of course, because it's pushing it out. And then when it comes back in, is right here. So you can see I can search up the kanji. It says konnichiwa sekai. And then here in the Romaji, it has the English character pronunciation. Now, I think this is an example that I could come up with for why I would want to split this up. Sure, I can have it side by side. But for example, if my app has people learning Japanese and switching back between real Japanese characters versus English pronunciation, they might be two different levels. If I am a super duper beginner, I want to use Romaji just because I can read it quicker and pronounce it properly. And then as I get to a higher level, I might want to switch to kanji characters so that I only ever see real Japanese, not this English romanized version. You could think of many, 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 many examples of this. I'm trying to think. The very, very first time I encountered this, I wanted to split things up because I wanted it to summarize. I wanted AI to fetch a news article, summarize it, grab the title out, and then put out the summary. If I split this up into title and then the summary and then maybe the URL, I could put it in different places in my UI. And so the URL might be something clickable. The title is just shows up elsewhere. I can grab all the titles from all the articles all at once. The structured output is incredibly important for for developers. And it guarantees a certain structure, guarantees how the response will look, which means that you can do more with it. For me, I am really glad that Pydantic is supported because the JSON schema, I'm sure I could wrap my head around it, but it doesn't make sense to me intuitively. Whereas this class, to show what it is, makes perfect sense to me. And all of my OpenAI stuff has a Python backend. So when it comes down to it, this will get translated into a dictionary for me, encoded in JSON, and I could push it off to a web app, to a Flutter app, to a old school Java Android app. I can move it to all of these places, but Python serves as the backend, and this works fantastic. Okay, so I have rambled on long enough, but I just wanted to go through the history as well, that developers, even in the past, had to be creative in just structuring their prompts, really asking it and telling it to adhere to it, and now OpenAI has a solution. Um, I did want to very quickly speculate. I suspect one of the easiest ways to implement this, and something that I had thought about doing myself, is just checking the response. So if I put another runtime at the end of this and check if the response matches one of my schemas and throw it out if it doesn't. If it doesn't, throw it out and ask OpenAI again. And I suspect that something similar might be happening because when I use response format like this, I have seen a variation in the latency. Sometimes it responds very quickly, sometimes it takes a bit longer. You saw that this one that we asked did take a little bit longer than I would expect. A simple question like this. So I suspect maybe in the back they might just be validating and then throwing out response and running it again. Anyways, I hope that was helpful. This should have been a very short tip, but please, 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 do use it because it's a very, very powerful feature within OpenAI. Thanks for watching. Bye.